the album is also called Pale Green Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, well, done on purpose? Like, well, this is the most important song on the album, this feeling that I had, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no accidents on this album. Everything has a meaning. Everything is in a specific place for a specific reason. The name of the album, the cover of the album, the artwork, the words, each word in every song. Yeah, and Pale Green Ghost is a very positive image for me. And also there's really simple things involved. Like, I love those trees, and I loved that time in my life. That was a time in my life when there was still really beautiful things happening, even though things had become much more complicated psychologically, And so, yeah, there were a lot of people that told me that I shouldn't name the album Pale Green Ghosts. People that told me I should name it Vietnam, for example. And I think Vietnam might sound cooler, but it's been done many times.
Yeah.
And there's bands called Vietnam, and there's other albums called Vietnam. And Pale Green Ghosts is very, very specific to my experience and to me.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be more personal. I wanted it to be a name that was more connected to my personal experience.
Well, I've written something down from certain songs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to talk about it, or maybe.
Well, you'll find out, I guess.
Okay. Well, there's certain songs about loving someone, or maybe that he doesn't love you, or there's one line in "Why Don't You Love Me Anymore?"
Mm-hmm.
I found it really personal.
Mm-hmm.
I am ashamed that I don't know myself, and I'm 43.
Yeah.
Was it the truth for you, that you didn't know yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way, especially if you're going through a midlife crisis, and I feel like I've gone through a midlife crisis. I don't know whether it's true or not. I feel like it's the truth, For me, I was so affected by this relationship, and it affected me so deeply and was such a big deal for me that I didn't feel like I knew myself anymore, and I didn't understand why it was affecting me so deeply. It was also, the song is not about him. That song, Why Don't You Love Me Anymore? That song is about the absurdity of asking that question. Because you can't ask that question. But everybody asks that question. But it doesn't make sense. Why don't you love me anymore? I just don't. That's the answer. You can say whatever you want. You can say, because you disgust me, or I don't like the way you eat, or you're not good looking enough for me, or you're not smart enough for me, or I don't like where you're going in your life, or I don't like what you said to me, that's why I don't love you anymore. But it doesn't really matter, does it? Because once somebody stops loving you, they're not going to start loving you again. And I'm talking about being in love. Because loving somebody is different from being in love with somebody, obviously. We all know that. And I'm talking basically about this romantic type of love. I'm not talking about the love of a mother for her child, I'm talking about romantic love between two people who have sex with each other and are in that type of romantic relationship together. And so, Why Don't You Love Me Anymore? It might, on the surface, sound like a really cheesy title, but it's very me, because it has something else behind it. It's about absurdity, the absurdity of asking that question.
But did you ask that question?
Yeah.
And then you found out,
I didn't get an answer.
Yeah.
I never got any answer. Which was one of I think that's why it was so difficult for me to move on, because there was never any answer to anything. There was just silence. you know? And so, which I talk about in another song. But why don't you love me anymore? Yeah, I was ashamed because it was affecting me so much. I was ashamed because I felt, you know, you should be further along now. You're 43. You shouldn't care this much. You should be able to just let go and move on. You should be able to do this. You should be able to do this. You should be here. You shouldn't be there. You should blah, 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 blah. And so that's why I said that.